Do you enjoy Stephen King stuff? Do your feet hurt a lot? That's definitely me. I just finished watching The Long Walk yesterday. And boy, was that a heavy one. Now I will go ahead and say this is a spoiler-free review. I just wanted to give my few thoughts on this movie that I caught yesterday. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, The Long Walk was actually one of Stephen King's first books that he wrote back in the 70s. I believe he wrote it under his pseudonym Richard Bachman, that he wrote like Running Man and a couple other books under. The general premise is that it's kind of like an alternative, I think it's supposed to be like the 20th century still in America. There was another civil war and the states are in ruin, and each year there is this competition called the Long Walk, where one young man from all 50 states compete in pretty much you keep walking, and if you fall under, in the movie it's 3 miles an hour, if you fall under 3 miles an hour, you get a warning. If you don't get your ass going again, you get a second warning. If you don't get your ass going, you die. And there's no end, there's no finish line. Just whoever's left alive is the winner. And if you win, you pretty much get whatever you want. They grant you whatever wish. It's pretty much a wish on top of just a shit ton of money. Jumping into it, I tried going into this movie as blind as possible. One of the biggest selling points for me was that Mark Hamill was supposed to be playing this like villainous general, and I'd never seen him as a villain on screen before. I mean, I know he voiced the Joker for like 20 plus years, but still. I have to say, this is probably one of the best Stephen King adaptations that I've seen since maybe Dr. Sleep in 2019. Now, going into it too, I was kind of under the impression that this was supposed to be some kind of like survival, like horror thriller. And in certain ways it is. Definitely a survival movie, definitely has its thrills, but it ended up being much more of a character drama, which, as much as like I love horror and excitement and all that stuff, when you give me a human story with characters that I care about, like I'm a sucker for movies that have like that feeling of camaraderie, of, you know, people who may have been strangers uniting together and developing these like unique bonds, and that's what this movie was. The cast in the movie was absolutely wonderful. The main character was played by Cooper Hoffman, which I found out this morning is Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. He was excellent in the movie. I'd never seen him in anything prior to this, but I believed every emotion that he emoted throughout the film. He made it, his character motivations, very believable. But the standout was still probably David Johnson. Now, David Johnson, most might recognize him as Andy from Alien Romulus. He, for me, was also the standout in that film, so I was very excited to see him in this one, and he was excellent. Going back to Mark Hamill being in the movie, also loved it. And I didn't even notice until it was pointed out to me that you do not even see his eyes in the movie, not one time. And by that I mean he's just wearing those like old school like general aviator glasses the entire film. And he just gave off this feeling of like ruthlessness, like this just vibe of a man that no matter what you do, you're not talking your way out of any situation with him. He's someone that when he's made up his mind, he's made up his mind. Now, for a film that has a pretty straightforward premise, About 90, maybe even 95% of it really is just these guys walking. What makes it work, though, is the writing and direction that helps us care about these characters. Obviously, since it's supposed to be, up to 50 young men doing this, we only get to know maybe 10 of them at best. And the characters that you do get to know, right away, obviously, you have the, oh, well, I like these guys, but I don't care if these ones die. But even come maybe 30 minutes into the movie, the ones that you thought were more expendable, you start to care about them. And it gets to the point where I started to feel anxious because I'm like, I love these characters, but there can only be one winner. I don't want to see any of them die, but that's the only outcome of the long walk. You either win or you die. The survival and thriller aspects of the film came more, in my opinion, in the form of the violence in the movie. Now, as mentioned, if you fall under that 3 miles an hour, you do get killed. So while these young men are walking, there's also these military people just kind of driving at the same speed with these automatic rifles. Now, most of the kills are on screen. There are a few off screen to kind of elevate the drama depending on the character that ends up being killed. And there are times where it felt so realistic. Like there's a scene where one of the characters gets a Charlie horse and he starts to slow down. His warnings come in. There's a very graphic scene of one of the guys who has I think he said his ankle was twisted. It almost looked broken. But the fear and the anxiety that comes with you need to keep going or the guy behind you with the rifle is gonna murder you. Don't mind my cat. She likes being on camera too. Although I don't really have much negatives with the film, there are a couple mixed opinions that I have, and they're kind of nitpicks. One of them was that I enjoyed Mark Hamill's portrayal of this evil general, but I wish there was more of it. He mostly bookends the film. I mean, he's there in the beginning to kind of give the exposition of this is what you're doing, and then he's there at the end, and then kind of he's sprinkled in throughout the film to kind of give this come on boys, sort of a thing. And I don't know, I wish there was a little bit more of him because I feel like they could have done a lot more in terms of showing how ruthless he actually is. Another mixed is the film did do a good job at kind of explaining characters' backstories because they're walking the whole time. They're getting to know each other. There were a couple characters, though, that I was very much interested in kind of getting more of an idea of who they were. Now, as I've said in previous videos, I'm not one that needs to have exposition dump. I'm not somebody who needs to have things spoon-fed to me, but I just feel like it very much piqued my interest. And every time I felt that they were kind of building up to do some kind of reveal to that character or something that kind of gave the audience the idea of oh, okay, so this happened to him in his personal life and that's part of his motivations, but unfortunately that didn't really happen. Overall, guys, I love this movie. I think that if you're a fan of Stephen King adaptations, that you will also be a fan of this. It is very bleak. It can be very grim at times, so this is definitely not a Friday night family film by any means. I'm looking forward to eventually rewatching it and seeing if the things that I like held up or not, and to see pretty much if I missed anything. But did you guys have a chance to see The Long Walk yet? Was this movie even on your radar? Have you even heard about this? Let us know. We are interested. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and letting me spew my thoughts on this badass movie. I hope you go check it out while it's in theaters. You know, support the little guys. But until then, thank you again. We'll see you next time.